Okay, so for this first transition, you're going to want to have your clip set up like mine and make sure to have motion blur enabled. Now tap P on your keyboard and the little cube on your section thingy right there, and at the same time, and this should pop up. Add a keyframe for Y, one at the beginning and one at the end, and make it about 90 degrees. Now highlight your keyframes and easy ease them by tapping on the graph icon up there in the corner, or you could do keyframe assistant like I'm doing. And then go ahead and just select the Y category so you're only making a graph for that one and tap it. And you can follow the in graph I'm doing. This is probably the smoothest graph you'll get out of this if you want to have that smooth effect. Here I am adjusting my graph and trying to make the flip just a little bit more intense. Once I have the graph at my liking, I go near the end of my clip, a few frames before the very end, and I add a keyframe for opacity by tapping T on my keyboard, and then I go to the very end of my clip and set the opacity down to about 20. Now go on to your second clip and do the exact same thing you did for the first clip to be able to have that cube effect on there, and add another keyframe for Y and make it -90 at the very beginning, and then go ahead and go to the very end of your clip and then just hit reset to defaults, and then highlight your keyframes just like we did before. Also, I'm sorry for the big like red pointer tool, and then easy ease them, and you can just copy my outgraph if you want, or you can make your own. There's not really a certain type of outgraph you have to use for this, but you know. And then just go ahead and finish off that opacity transition, and then you should be complete. Okay, so for this next transition, you're going to want to make sure you have motion blur enabled on both your clips and add on motion tile to both of them. My output height and the stuff you need to enter it is usually 300 or 250. It's whatever one you want. I just do 300 because it's like easier to remember and like less work to type in. I'm like that lazy, but whatever. Now what I'm doing is just a simple zoom in transition, because that's like the first part of the transition is a zoom in. So you can zoom in the amount you want. I just zoomed it a little bit, and then I highlighted my keyframes and then I easy ease them. I do it a different way. Some people do it a lot of different ways, and it's whatever works for you. Then I just did a simple in graph. I didn't do any fancy type of in graph. I just made it a little bit fast because my clips were kind of long. So yeah. Now, if you have a Windows computer or any type of like computer that isn't a Mac, you're going to want to tap Control-Alt-Y, and that's going to bring up an adjustment layer. If you have a Mac, I honestly don't know what the controls are to bring up an adjustment layer. Just do whatever you normally do. And you're going to want it to fit over both your clips. I just split it and fit it over the clips. And now on this first adjustment layer, I added the wrong one, but you're going to want to add optics compensation on this first one. Just make sure to do that. As you can see, I completely forgot to add optics compensation and ended up adding warp, which is, I got confused because you have to add that on your second adjustment layer. So just completely ignore what I'm doing and add on optics compensation instead. Once you have that added on, make sure to tap reverse lens distortion and add 2 keyframes on the adjustment layer, one at the beginning and one at the end, and make it about 100 or a little bit more than that, because that's like the way you're going to see the intensity in the transition. And for the graph, try to make it a little bit slight, but also like moving at the same time with the zoom transition. So just basically make it the same graph that you made the zoom transition, but you also don't want it to be too intense because it'll end up looking weird and wonky. So yeah. Now on my second clip, realize I said clip and not adjustment there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish off my zoom in transition by making a zoom out and then just zooming it right back into its default size on the last keyframe. It's just a simple zoom out transition. So yeah, you can copy my graph if you'd like. You don't need to, it's just kind of simple, but yeah. Now on the adjustment layer, type in warp to your search bar and add on the one that says just warp just like by itself, and go ahead and select fisheye and make it -100. Add one keyframe with that and then go to the very end of your clip and set it back to 0 and then just do a simple outgraph.